Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Hi, I'm John Mallis. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. And today we're talking about home sales. Are they up? Are they down? Do you care? Are you looking to buy? Are you looking to sell? Remember yesterday we talked about Prop 13. You can call in 436-ME-TV, option 11. Please, my friends, do turn down the sound when you call in. Back in a moment. It is a Your Community Day here on Connect with Me, live on Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6. And you might recall yesterday we had kind of a fun show talking about Proposition 13. Of course, that proposition keeps in place your property taxes as they are, and they only go up about 2% a year, roughly speaking, based on the sale of your house. Well, today we're going to focus on housing. Home sales here in the Central Valley, are they up? Are they down? We'll talk about home sales throughout the state of California as well, and maybe even throughout the nation, but specifically right here. Let's go to the videotape, show you what I'm talking about, my friends. And when we are talking about home sales, we are talking about the economy. Here's the deal, though. How many people really care if home sales are up or down? How significant is it in your own mind? I guess if you are in the real estate business, it matters. To those who work in the industry, of course, it is their livelihood. So yes, to them, it matters, and they pay close attention. And when the numbers go up and down, they like to boast a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that because the economy in recent years has been on the downslide. The bigger question is, though, do the numbers really influence people to buy or not to buy a home? That's the bigger question. Now, the answer is maybe, who knows, because availability can dictate prices, and so can interest rates. So it's really, how important is it to pay attention to these items? The items that matter most to the buyers are the prices, as we all know. After all, without the buyer, there is no business, there is no lender, there's no real estate agent, there's no housing. You can have as many sellers as you want, but if there's no takers, what do you have? Am I making any sense here? Am I confusing all you viewers at home? You can go online, ask any and all the experts in the field. You'll get a dozen different answers on real estate. For one thing, the interest rates remain low. We'll talk about that. Live in our studio right now is Patti Pruitt of Guarantee Real Estate. She's here to talk about the market and what her experiences have been in recent months. And Daryl Rowe, he is a lender from the California Funding and Investment Group right here in the Fresno area. He'll talk about your lending needs if you are interested in buying a home. You know, we'll go through the process A to Z. If you're a first-time home buyer, which many of you might be, most of you probably are not. You probably bought a home at one time or another. Call in 436-ME-TV, option 11. Does any of this make sense? Back in a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on the set of Connect with Me, Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6. You can call in today and ask your real estate questions. 436-ME-TV, option 11. It isn't too often that we have real estate people on here, and I believe this is the first time we've ever had a lender on the show. And we've been doing this show for, what, 3 years now? We've done nearly, what, Marcus? Almost 600 shows. We've had very few real estate people. Can you believe that?
No.
You're like one of the very few we've had on. You're the first lender we've had on.
Well,
gosh,
I'm
you're an anomaly.
lucky me today. Huh?
600 shows. You've never had a lender on. I don't know where we've been. I have no
Fix
idea.
that trend today, won't
Where
we?
did we find you?
Oh, you
at?
lenders are afraid of the camera, maybe, huh?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think you are, though. No,
Well, I
you
might
don't.
be. We haven't got very far into this show yet, have we?
Are we filming?
We're live, yeah,
Oh,
actually.
I
They
hate
can
when
see
that
us at home right now.
happens. Oh my gosh.
So anyway, did I make any sense in that monologue? Who wants to pick it up first?
It's your turn.
Well, I think you made perfect sense, especially the part when you're talking about the numbers and the trends. I don't think your common home buyer, first-time home buyers, but they don't care about that. They care about, is this going to be a quality home they can afford?
Yeah.
You said
Whoops.
one of the biggest factors is the price of a home. I almost tend to disagree slightly, and what I think it is
Yeah, but can you afford to get in? That's
the
point.
payment. I think the payment is the most important thing, and that's kind of
But that depends on the pricing.
A product of a program put together with pricing. So I
Yeah.
think it's affordability, and I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest factor.
Yeah. How many? And I'll ask Patty this too. How many first-time home buyers do you run across?
I would guess in a monthly basis, I'm
Yeah.
probably doing 15 pre-qualifications for a first-time home buyer that really have no idea of what home buying is like.
And are they confused?
Extremely confused and scared and nervous, and it's really it's an art really to try to get them to understand the process. And
Wow. We have a call coming in before you even get a word out here.
Oh, geez.
You're on Connect with Me. Go ahead, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. Go ahead. Wow. Talk about impatient. 436-ME-TV, option 11 if you want to call in. Yeah, we can hear you when you call in. Just talk. We'll be able to hear you, ask your questions here. So, Patty, what do you think? How many first-time home buyers do you run across?
I'm not working with a lot of first-time home buyers right now. I seem to be working with a lot of people that are coming down from the mountain area to be closer to services, elderly people that are moving down to get closer to Kaiser and
Yeah.
the kids. They don't want to have to commute back and forth for their medical and to visit their children. I've had like 4 or 5 people in the last actually, Daryl's done the loans for them that have moved down from the mountain area to be closer to services. But I am working with some first-time home buyers, 2 sets of them, but more investors than first-time home buyers, I'm finding personally.
Wow, we'll talk about that in a minute. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, my question is regarding a solar system we just had installed in our house. We have our house valued at $400,000,
Oh, okay.
and the solar system costs $50,000. What percentage of that can you get back if you sell the house down the
Wow,
down
that's
the
a
road?
great
That's
question.
a very good question. Now, are you talking that your home was valued at $400,000 before or after the installation of the solar system?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
Your home value, was it appraised before or after the installation of your solar system?
Before.
Oh, okay.
So it's about $450 now, roughly speaking. So how long is it going to take to get that money back?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of that money is not coming back. Just like remodels, a lot of the time you do that for your own pleasure, enjoyability, or your affordability, reducing your PG&E. It's just like a remodel.
So that's
or a
money
swimming
out the
pool.
window. basically.
Well,
I mean,
no,
for your
not
own
not all of it. I mean,
well, some of it, because it's for your own pleasure. It's like going on vacation.
absolutely. Well, that's with a remodel. Like, say you
Right.
spend $50,000 on a remodel for your kitchen, you're probably only going to realize about a $10,000 appreciation for that, as
Yeah.
well as the swimming pool, about $7,000 for a $30,000 pool. So it's the same with a solar system. I mean, you're going to make it more marketable to buyers. Excuse me. The next time it's sold, it's like, everyone wants to be off the grid a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
with a $400,000 home and installing a solar system, you say of
50 grand.
yeah, about 50,000. Probably you appreciated it by as much as $20,000 more by putting that in. I mean, that's actually a very good percentage. $20,000 of
You can
what
add to
put
the
into
price
it.
of the home.
Pretty
Yeah, it's
much.
kind of like putting in a swimming pool. I mean, you're better off buying a house that has a pool than putting one in after, because you're not going to get much of your money back, right?
knows
One,
about
one
this?
factor there that actually may change that answer is, are you doing a roof mount or are you doing a exterior building? Because if you're doing an exterior building, that will be appraised differently on your value. So I know that I'm doing that myself at my home, and I'm doing
You're doing solar?
structure. I'm doing a structure out in my
Oh.
yard and putting solar on that, and that will obviously give me a little more value. So that's a variable that you might consider as well.
Why are you not using your roof?
Honestly, I don't really like the look of the panels on my roof, and I had enough property there that it could make sense to me, where I could put it out there and put like a little structure. So it made sense for me. I don't know if it makes sense for everybody, but for me it did. So.
Right. And how many people, when they buy a new home now, and some are not buying brand new homes, they just want a home, how many are interested in solar?
I would say quite a few of those. I mean, I get a lot of people that are asking me straight out of the gate financing about solar, if I know somebody who does solar. So there's a lot of questions regarding solar. I think Patty can attest to that as well.
It isn't that
Yeah.
they're not interested, it's they don't want to pay the price.
It's
Excuse
still
me,
up
for the
there.
solar.
It's still up
It
there.
is still up there, but they have some very affordable programs
Yeah.
where, you can make monthly payments, and it ends up sometimes being less, a lot less than your PG&E. Say your PG&E was $600 a month, depending on the amount of solar panels you put on your home.
Yeah. And
It
the question
might be
is,
just
how
a
many years
small-
will it take to get that money back? Sometimes it'll take 20 years
Well, I
before you can
mean,
get your money back, but it may add some value to your home in the process too,
But
like you said.
It's like an investment, though, because instead of paying PG&E or your power bill, you're making payments towards something that is viable. I mean, for you, affordable for you, and eventually it's going to get paid off, and you'll have a very, very small power bill. I know some of my clients. They were going backwards on PG&E.
That's a good thing.
And they had a shop, and they had a arena that they had lighting on, and they were paying like $20 a month, and their PG&E bill had been
wow.
like $480 a month.
I like that.
Oh yeah, and their payment on their solar was like about $78 a month.
Yeah. Hey, caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
I just have a question for the lender.
Yeah, go ahead.
Had he explained the difference between a pre-qualified and a pre-approved? And another thing, when you give numbers like 15 first home buyers, I would like to know approximately the percentage instead of the number of people. And I'll take my answer off the phone. Thank you.
Thank you. So, difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved loan. What's the difference?
Well, there's a huge difference. A pre-qualified person, they come in and you've actually done a cursory look at their income, credit, and those kind of things, come up with a approval that, based on the limited information you've got, they are approved. A pre-approval is actually, you've got a more of a lender's commitment on that, where a lot of real estate agents, they want that. I mean, you go through the process, you run a DU approval, and at that point, you know that not only does your math look good to you, but it also looks good to the bank. So
I want to make sure I understand it. So all the terminology, like you said at the beginning, it's confusing. So am I better off coming to Patty if I'm pre-qualified or pre-approved?
I would say pre-approved.
Because pre-qualified means what? That they just went through your financial statements, basically? But
When-
they haven't approved you yet.
Yeah. What happens is we have a system,
Right.
a program really, where we have to fill out an application. That application is really just a big calculator. So as we punch in their income, their debt to income ratio, whatever debts that they have,
Okay.
it comes up with a number. And that number, there's a ratio that the banks will accept. That ratio for conventional is about 48%. For FHA is about 46%.
48%. What's that 48%? What is that?
Basically, it means the income that you bring in compared to the debt that you have going out. So
So the 48% is the debt that's
debt to
going
income
out?
ratio, right?
Okay,
So
so
you-
the 48% is the money going out.
Correct.
Okay, you can't have more than 48% going out.
Well, about 48 for conventional.
Okay,
About
and-
46 for 45, 46 for FHA.
FHA.
Right.
Okay.
So,
so
to answer your question, when you come in, we use that system and come up with a yes, you are, in fact, pre-qualified. So at that point, a letter can be written, basically saying that you're pre-qualified. It goes to Patty and to the individual, and you can go out and start looking. At that point, then we know more on a contract. We have a number,
Okay.
and at that's the last factor we need. At that point, then we get a pre-approval letter for the person.
I see. So one is they're just looking over your financial statements and they're saying, okay, you're qualified. You qualify for a home based on your income, based on how much is going out. This is the kind of home that you can afford based on your salary. Blah blah blah. You can go out looking for a home, and now in the process, okay, boom, we just got word you're approved.
Well, approved
Based
comes
on
after
the
a
numbers.
contract because then we know what that sales price is.
Does Patty approve that, or
No,
does,
she
oh.
at that
I
point
bring him people.
she would
Oh,
send
okay.
me the
Pre-approved.
contract or whomever she's using as
Okay.
a lender, and that contract. Then you have the final figures. You know, all the variables that perhaps you didn't know in the beginning. So at that point, then you can put it all together, have a final picture, and then get a
Who
final
approves
approval.
it? Who approves it? You do, or
No, it's the bank you're working
the
with.
bank that you're
Right.
working with? Okay. Okay.
Has to meet a
Civil
Fannie Mae,
banks.
Freddie Mac approval, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, for instance, I'll pick up somebody going through an open house and they will have absolutely no idea what they're qualified for. And they'll be out looking at all these homes, $200,000, $300,000 homes, and they'll qualify for a $90,000 home. So it's like I tell
How
them
often does that happen?
all the time, especially
Really?
first-time buyers.
Yeah. So step one, go in and get the qualification and approval before you go out. Well, get the qualification, then you go out and look, and then you get the approval.
And they don't
right?
even have to do that. They can just go to their realtor. The realtor can suggest someone who they know is good in the business.
Yeah.
They don't have to get pre-approved before they start looking at homes if they have a realtor that is already working on their pre-approval.
So if you're qualified, you can go out and look.
Well, if you're, okay, for
Because you
instance.
kind of know the price range at that point, right?
Well, yes.
So you're not looking, over
You're not looking
at,
blindly. Like, say,
yeah,
say
you're looking
first-
at like, $800,000 homes when you can afford a $150,000 house.
Exactly. Well, just an example is I'll have someone call Daryl. They'll give them their information, their
Yeah.
financial information over the phone, and he'll do what he can with it, run it. He can sometimes come up with a prequal just by talking to them. I mean, but it isn't a hard approval
Yeah.
by any means.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
process itself is very easy. It takes about 20 minutes of time.
Wow.
to sit
Exactly.
down.
Okay. All right, got to take a break here talking with Patti Pruitt and Daryl Rowe. He is a lender. She is a real estate agent. 436-MeTV option 11. If you have any questions that might be a little confusing on the home sale or home buyer's side, call in. We'll take your call back in a moment.
Don't you ever hit me again!
Chief, I think we got a hit on our hands.
MeTV Fresno, now on Comcast Channel 187.
Back here on the program on Connect with Me, talking about real estate. And yesterday we talked a little bit about Proposition 13. I want to ask you something because we had a lot of calls yesterday on this. There's a guy, you know, and I don't know if he's still watching. I really feel sorry for this guy. I wish we could do something to help him. He owned his house outright and lost it because he didn't pay his taxes for 7 years. Had, you know, I don't know the details about what happened, but it seemed to me like the county should have been able to work with this guy to save his house. You get many questions about how much are my house taxes going to be? You know, you buy a $200,000 house in this day and age. What are the taxes going to be? You know. Do you get many questions like that?
First of all, that's a heart-wrenching story because I've heard it many times before.
You've heard it many times?
Yeah, it
really?
Does happen. What happens is when a person pays off their home, it's
they forget about
easy.
the taxes.
They forget about the taxes.
But they get the bill in the mail.
You know, that's true too. So, but it does happen, and I've heard stories about that where they have a house that's paid off and they owe a very small amount of taxes, and for one reason or another, it didn't get done, and of course the county, city, they can come in and pretty much take that
seize
home.
the house.
Yeah,
but first they put a lien on it.
Yeah. So why can't? I mean, is there somebody called in and said it's 7 years?
It is.
It is 7 years. You know that for a fact. It's 7 years. Okay.
Well, unless something's changed, that's what I read.
Very possible with everything.
Yeah. But do you often have home buyers come in and say, look, this is the house I want. What are the taxes going to be on this house? Is it going to kill me? Or they probably don't even think about it.
They don't,
do they?
Because a lot of lenders, when they qualify a person, one of the biggest important and biggest questions for a buyer is, what's my payment going to be? And a lot of lenders use a tactic where they're going to tell them a lower payment because they won't include impounds, which are taxes, insurance, and mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden the person's looking, they go, man, that's very affordable. And all they're really looking at is principal and interest. Like when I quote a price on payment, I include all of that.
You include everything, the
taxes,
taxes, the insurance, mortgage insurance.
So that you know the full picture of what that payment really is.
Well, why do lenders hold out? And then all of a sudden there's a surprise for the buyer at the end.
I don't know that it happens as much as it used to, but it's just a way of being the lowest price, and a person, then they'll get committed into a loan, and
that just somehow seems wrong to me. But like, you know, just being dishonest to a certain extent.
It happens,
you know, just lay all the cards out on the table. Here it is. They're scared to lose that sale, maybe, huh?
Probably, probably is.
But you have probably found, Patty, because you seem like a very honest person to me, you found that honesty is the best policy. It goes a long way, right? You can't last without honesty, I'm sure.
Well, one of the interesting things is a seller, when they sell their property, they'll fill out a transfer disclosure statement, and you're supposed to represent everything that is wrong with the property. If you've painted, you know, in the last 6 months, or so on and so forth. But I find I have never lost a sale by a seller being honest and disclosing too many things. But I have had people walk away when they don't. When they have their home inspection, it's like, well, the seller had to have known about this. So,
caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, John. God bless you and your guests. And at the beginning of the show, you asked a question if anybody cares what the prices are, and kind of struck a good thing, sir. Those pictures you were showing of the houses at the beginning of the show?
Yeah.
They're like built in the 60s.
Okay.
Maybe 70s, right around in there. And, I was just wondering if you guys know pretty much how much the houses were costing back then and how much they appreciated since then. I'll take the question off your answer offline.
Now, wait a second. Hang on. Are you still there?
Yeah, that's what
I'm not sure I quite understand the question. You want to know how much?
I'm sorry, the houses were built in the 60s and 70s, and they're probably like brand new, 20,000, 25,000, maybe max.
Right.
And I just wondering how they appreciated so much over time, and and I don't, them houses should have had solar panels on them by now. I mean, it's kind of like.
All right, I think it's based on,
location.
the location. Yeah, location. But each individual house is priced differently. But how can you answer a question like that? How do you know how much? It's too broad a brush from the 60s and 70s. How much something is appreciated till now? I mean, how do you answer that?
Well, it's a tough question to answer, but
it is.
I mean, I can tell you, like where I grew up at, my mom and dad bought their house in 1972, and they still have that house. and they bought it back then 25,000, which is unheard of now.
Yeah.
And that house now, the same house, and my mom and dad haven't really done a lot of upgrades or anything like that. It's about 400,000. So I mean, that's a snapshot.
Same with my parents. My parents bought their house, I believe, in the 50s. It was like $8,000. Okay. Well, if they were to sell it now, it's 400,000.
Right.
So I mean, it's.
I mean, I can't say that same trend is going to happen or continue. I mean, back then money was a little different factor than it is now. So
a lot different. And you know, back then you probably filled out one sheet of paper. Okay, boom, 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 sign here, Mr. Rowe, and handwritten. And here's the house.
And a
boom,
handshake.
and a handshake, and you're done. The house is yours. Here are the keys.
Yeah.
Now you have to fill out so much paperwork. That's why it is so confusing for some people, right, Patty?
Oh, absolutely. There are just so many disclosures.
You find people walking away with their heads spinning after they sign the documents?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, buying a car is bad enough, but I mean, there's just droves and droves of documents. I mean, there's the loan documents, there's the escrow documents.
Does anybody sit down to read all those
purchase
things,
agreement?
or no? They just sign.
Oh my gosh, no. I mean, when you're presenting the documents, you just have to ask them to read it, and then you just outline basically what it is.
What the highlights are, yeah.
A lot of them are just definitions, highlighted definitions, so that people know what certain terms are. I mean, there's pages and pages of just that, and disclosures. Disclosures are just huge, and liability for the broker is huge. So the broker wants to put out as much material as they can, so that the buyer does their inspections or uses due diligence.
In a way, you've got to be F. Lee Bailey or hire F. Lee Bailey just to understand the contract. You know, and who would want to do that anyway?
Oh, and it's ever changing too. I mean, every few months they put something new in.
Yeah. Back with Patti Pruitt and Daryl Rowe. He's a lender. She's a real estate agent. Any of your real estate questions, we'll answer them. If you have any questions about Prop 13 or property taxes too, we'll get into the lending aspect of it. We'll take you from A to Z. We'll show you some video. Back in just a moment if you want to call in.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
You know, here's the question that I have too. Is the American dream gone by the wayside? I mean, do you find people who are buying homes now really are the ones who have money? Because years ago, it wasn't that way. I mean, you didn't have to have much money to buy a house, kind of the American dream. Houses weren't that expensive, the payments weren't that expensive, the insurance wasn't that expensive. But now it seems like, well, you better have some money if you're going to have a house. Is the American dream going by the wayside to a certain extent?
You know, I don't think so. I think that there is a big shift in, especially younger people, where they don't feel that they really want to buy a house. They're probably a little afraid of that.
Let me interrupt just for a second. You know, we have so many pieces of videotape. I want to take you on a home tour. Patty did, when was this, yesterday?
I did one a couple days ago. And
okay, here it is there. We can take the videotape, walk through it. Daryl, pick up on your point that you were talking about, the American dream, as we see Patty here showing a house. Yesterday, I like the color in there, by the way. So is the American dream going by the wayside? Before I interrupted.
I don't think so. I think that the younger people who are trying to get into home ownership maybe look more at renting. They like more of the inner cities, and so a lot of times I think it's more of a person in their 30s who they already start to develop their family, and then they start to think about a house. So I just think it's not gone. I think it's delayed. I think that people just seem to wait longer in their lives before they buy a home. So, and I think some of that's probably fear. They've seen this meltdown that our economy went through for the last 5-7 years, and I think that they're starting to come awake now, and I think that they realize that there is still a lot of equity out there that a person can build in a home, and it's not all about equity. It's about building yourself a home with your family that you can raise your kids in and grow old together. So I don't think it'll ever die. I just think that it's got to be affordable and be the right choice for a person.
Do you find that, Patty, when you take people on a home tour, a lot of times, is it kind of like eating? Your eyes are bigger than your stomach? To a certain extent?
Yeah, actually, well, no. Actually, right now I see that people are being a lot more careful. They don't want to overbuy. But
Okay.
As you touched on earlier, I don't think the American dream is gone because actually FHA is only asking for 3.5% on a home. Someone can buy a home for $3,500 because it's customary for the seller to pay
let's see.
right now.
The 30-year fixed rate, according to what you gave me yesterday, is a 4.3, and then the conventional for 30 years is 4.5. Still
It's
relatively
amazing,
low.
yeah.
And you can look for other deals out there too. Like I heard something on the radio yesterday. You can get a home loan for like 2.37%. That's like
10-year fixed.
10-year fixed.
Oh.
Can't be a 30-year.
No.
There's no way.
Nope.
Yeah. So
Well, if you do buy down points, you could, but that gets very, very expensive very
Right.
quick. So.
Now, do the interest rates entice people still?
I think they're going to buy whether or not the interest rates are 4% or 14%. They still have
They're
the
gonna
need.
buy.
They still have the want. Absolutely. But this is just an
But we were
amazing
even saying a
time.
few years ago, God, these are historic lows. We don't know how long this is going to last. 10 years later, they're still here.
Well, like I always tell everyone, you don't write your interest rate on your check that you send into the bank every month. So there's a lot
Meaning?
Well, it's not all about rate. I mean, a lot of people, they'll come in and they always hear, okay, it's got to be the lowest rate. Well, sometimes the best program is the best way to do that. So you find another program that combines rate and the structure of that program, you can get a lower payment by doing another program versus rate. Not to say that rate isn't important, because I'm not the guy that ever wants to sell a 5% rate when there's a 4.5 out there. I would rather see a person get the lowest rate and the lowest closing costs. So, but there are other ways to.
In the end, what matters? The affordability of the home to that particular person.
Correct.
Their income, their ratio to what did you explain? The
Debt to income ratio.
Debt to income ratio. That's what it boils down to, right?
It's
In the
all
end,
about affordability for the people. I mean, if they, I'm finding that especially the younger generation are buying homes that they can afford. They're not getting crazy anymore.
you mean the 30s
buyers.
crowd, the 30s crowd?
The 30s crowd.
The younger generation, you said people in their 30s working, they have money, they're driving a Beamer, they're driving this, they're
They're
driving
younger
that, and
than
they
that.
want.
They're in their early 20s.
And they're buying homes?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. They're a lot smarter than they were, it seems. They are.
Well, and they're not
And they're more
refinancing every
educated.
time you turn around. For as the big back in the boom.
Well, when you have these interest rates, what's there to refinance?
Correct.
Wait-
Well, a lot of people were taking the
Exactly.
equity out like a bank
Yeah.
back then and
Yeah,
buying
things are a
other
lot
things.
different.
Here's another home tour right here. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is okay, you get these, I don't know, you told me yesterday, and I wrote this down on a piece of paper, you said that the home sales are up by 5.7%. I saw something in the Business Journal that said during a 47-day period, they were down by 17% from a year ago. So what are we to believe? I know we go back to the original statement, who really cares? What really matters? What numbers do you look at all the time that do count?
I don't ever look at numbers like that because everyone has
care.
their own opinion. Honestly,
you really don't care what home sales are doing.
Well,
Then
I know that.
Well, I
there's
mean, you care, but you know what I
care,
mean.
sure, but I don't think that it makes a lot of difference at the end of the day.
you don't live and die by the numbers that are out there. You don't go home with a stomach ache at night saying, "Oh my God, home sales are down by 5%."
If I had made my living off of buying flipper homes or that kind of thing, where I'm doing a lot of investment stuff, I would probably be a lot more tuned into that. Because I think really the only people that really follow that are the ones that are buying to turn it and flip it. So.
What about you? Do you live and die by the numbers, or you don't care either? As long as you're doing okay, and
Absolutely. We don't live and die by the numbers. It's just, it's supply and demand. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I had one of the worst experiences in my life with my first real estate agent. So that is actually why I got into the business. And that's all I'm trying to do is help people through the process smoothly and no surprises. Communication is number one.
Yeah. Let me ask you and give some tips to the sellers out there. Roll another piece of videotape as we're taking a tour. Patti, do people go into a home? I know that they're thinking in their mind, number one is affordability, but are they looking at the status of the home? Is it clean? Is it well kept? Is it run down? Is it going to need work? Oh, I need to change this. I need to change that. The garage isn't big enough. What are their, besides affordability, what's their number one concern? When they walk in on that tour, what does the seller need to keep in mind if they want to sell that house?
Well, actually, a lot of the homes that I show don't have sellers. I mean, the seller is the bank. A lot of them are foreclosures. A lot of people are looking for a deal. A lot of people, even young couples, are.
Do they care about the condition of the paint or the
Some
floors?
people do.
Or?
It depends on the buyer, because some want a fixer, and in that case, Daryl would have to get them a conventional loan, because FHA is not going to allow, or will not fund a fixer.
They won't?
No.
Unless it's
FHA
a 203K.
Unless it's a 203K.
So it's got to be a conventional loan with a fixer.
Unless you do a 203K, which is an FHA product, which allows you to have someone come in and do a assessment of what it takes for repairs.
Like these folks here, Patti, are they? What was their
they're
main
first-time
concern?
buyers.
Okay, they're first-time buyers.
They just want an affordable place in a safe neighborhood, although the neighbors were kind of, it was a marginal neighborhood. It was really spotty. There were some, cars on the lawn, and,
I understand.
Some
but inside the
places.
house, it was nice.
It was perfect, and they were willing to make an offer on that property, even though the area is spotty, because they love the house and it's close to services, Tower District, and.
Yeah.
So they.
Well, the towers. How would you consider that area, the tower?
It's a cultural melting pot. I mean, there's some great places to eat down there. A lot of people just want to be in that area. You don't have too many problems down there with gangs or anything like that, do you? I mean, I don't know. No, it's not anywhere near as bad as it was at one point. I mean, those areas are all improving. Old Fresno High and Tower. I mean, they're great places. A lot of those homes are Taylor Wheeler, built in 1920s. There's some beautiful homes restored. A lot of flips going on out there, and there's some blocks that are wonderful, but still have one or two homes that they need to bulldoze down and start over. But all in all, it's coming back up. It's coming back up. There's a lot of money and funds and grants available. Just like downtown in the restoration.
Yeah, it looks like this home on the inside has been fixed up pretty nice, and so they were concerned about the outside. Whoops, sorry about that. Sometimes we get that, but so they were concerned about the outside neighborhood more than they were about the inside of the home.
They weren't really that concerned. I was more concerned about it than they were, actually.
Oh, you were?
I was, because I knew that, the house was perfect. The house itself was perfect. It was just some activity going on in the neighborhood that was bothersome.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I'm ready to buy my next house, and I like to look in the Fresno Beach, those places, but I have them question for the realtor. Every time I call or go to look at houses in Fresno County, Clovis, I don't like the places where they put a single-family home, and then there's a two-story house, and then maybe two this and one that. It seems like you have to go to Kerman or Madera to find a home that is separated in its own type of houses. I just don't like the mixed houses, because I learned a lesson once. I bought the first house in a development, picked out one that's starting at the cul-de-sac, and I'll be darned if the next house in the cul-de-sac calls it to back up 2 stories, looking right down in my backyard. But I just wonder why Fresno doesn't separate those houses like Kerman and Madera does. I'll take my answer on the air. Thank you.
All right. Need to talk to the builder about that.
Seriously.
Who's that? McCaffrey, Leo Wilson,
No, Leo Wilson,
Granville with what's his name, Assemi.
They're in the later years, they have paid Leo Wilson and and Wath and Castanos especially, I have noticed they aren't doing that anymore. Matter of fact, the windows that are going onto backyards, they're like these little tiny windows that they put high up on the newer construction. I've noticed that. There's no more 2 stories looking down into your pool from those 2 builders, I know. But I know exactly what she's talking about. It's a total lack of privacy.
I know. I got that at my house, too. I've got the 2-story behind me, 2-story next door to me. I feel like the CIA is looking down on us for some reason. And, I hate that feeling. But what are you going to do? It's all over. So, but you say that the developers have stopped actually doing it. Would they do that in the first place?
Some of them still do it. I mean, some of them it's still all about the bottom line.
Yeah.
But there are very...
well, put the 2 stories in one area and put the single family homes in this area.
Well, that makes sense to us, but I mean, I'm sure there's a reason that they don't do it that way. I mean, they're certainly not thinking. I mean, the other builders have started thinking about that, the more premier builders, but the ones that are just, some of them just don't think about it and don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. All right, we're talking with Patti Pruitt and Daryl Rowe, a real estate agent and a lender here, 436-MeTV, option 11. Call in if you've got any questions. Back in a moment.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified #1 rated high efficiency Cabrio from Whirlpool Place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Whirlpool Cabrio laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Back here talking about the housing market and home sales, up or down. Are you looking to buy a house or reinvest? Now, Patti, you were telling me not long ago that these houses that are like under 150 grand, you're seeing a lot of investors, gobble these houses up, and they actually flip the houses and make a profit. So, and that's a nice looking bush right there, by the way. I don't see a house, but
missed the first part of it.
Oh, I missed the first. Was I asleep? Was I asleep during the first part of it? Okay. Anyway, that's a nice bush. I like to have that. But anyway. So who are these people? Snapping up these homes for under 150 grand a year?
Well, like I have, for instance, I have some buyers from Dubai, and they have bought 3 different condominiums from me. They also snap up the condos and small homes that are under 125,000, and a lot of the ones that they're snapping up are in the Tower District area south of Olive, because they see that area coming back up and they want to flip those.
Are they making a big profit out of that?
Well, there's one that they they flipped in 2 months and they made about $70,000 on it, and it was an $80,000 home. And
does that hurt the market in any way? Does that prevent or put a dent in say the average American family coming along and buying a home, or not?
Well,
that doesn't
actually,
affect anything?
In my opinion, what they're doing is improving the neighborhood, because they're taking these homes that are in deplorable conditions sometimes and fixing them up and flipping them and selling them to a family that would otherwise have not purchased that home. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what's happening is FHA and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, a lot of the time they will have where an investor can't even make an offer on a property until 15 days after it hits market. So they put the investors on the back burner. So there are people that are getting the opportunity to purchase these homes before the investors.
Okay. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Caller? Hi.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Two people, one of them including my daughter, were making payments to property management. And on June 1st, she got an unlawful detainer with the bank being the owner, not the name of the owner. Who is the owner? This also happened across the street from my neighbors. People are current on rent, and they get an unlawful detainer because the property owner has not been making his mortgage payments.
Oh.
I was wondering if you guys know anything. It would cost her more in legal fees than to get back the $3,500 rent or whatever. That anyway. I'll wait for your answer on the air. I can't really hear you guys on the phone. I know it's happening to a lot of people all across the country. And is there any recourse to this situation other than retaining an attorney that's going to cost you more than what you're going to get back?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that seem to have stopped making the payments on their mortgages, and they know that it's taking the banks so long to foreclose that they'll just actually turn around. They're still the owners of the property, and they will go ahead and rent those homes out and collect rent and just keep collecting rent, renting out a home that's in foreclosure or in a short sale process. And a lot of the times the home will even be sold without the occupants, the renters, knowing that the house has been sold. And sometimes it's taking 2 years for a bank to foreclose on a certain property, especially the high-end properties. It's taking 2.5 years sometimes to foreclose.
Why?
I don't understand myself why they're so quick to foreclose on homes that are in the 200 less price range. Maybe it's because they know that they can flip them faster or turn them over faster, putting them back on the market. But I've known several homes in the $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 price range that people are still living in 2.5 years later. And not making payments.
Is it because the $150,000 and $200,000 house is going to go much faster than
assuming,
say, a $500,000 home?
Well, it depends a lot on the bank too. Certain banks seem to foreclose sooner than other banks.
Confusing. Anyway, caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Hope you got your sound turned down.
Hi. I'm sorry. I was listening to her because I had just called.
Yeah, turn down your sound. Turn down your sound.
Yeah, it's down.
Okay.
Okay. The situation with the one that I was talking about with my daughter, she lived in the house for 10 years, was always current on her rent, and on June 1st was when she got the unlawful detainer. The owner of the home that she was renting from has 4 other houses on the same block. So you mean this process could have been going on? She could have been paying rent for 2 years not knowing that the house was going to be foreclosed on?
Oh, absolutely.
So the other people should start looking. It was by the grace of God that she was able to get a place to live, that she wasn't in a motel or whatever. Her and her family. Our house, unfortunately, is not large enough to have any other people, but she's friends with the neighbors. The guy owns 4 other houses, so basically what he's doing is taking money from people when he is in foreclosure. There has to be something that we can do about this.
All right, we get the gist of it. We'll let maybe you answer that, Daryl. Go ahead.
Actually, I do have a few comments on that.
Go ahead.
First of all, what the homeowner is doing is actually there's some legality consequences to that. I believe there's a law against that, where if your house is in foreclosure, you can no longer accept rent on that. A lot of people do
Really?
it, and I don't think it is legal, but it does happen. Another thing you can do, and I shudder to say this, but I'm just going to tell you that a lot of times in a situation like this, the new owner, they come in and they actually have it written into their bottom line that they're going to cash for keys you out of the home. So they understand that they can't just displace a person. So what they're going to do is they're going to come up to the renter and say, okay, here's the deal. We now own this home. We need you to be out. I'm willing to give you $1,000 for your voluntary vacate of the home. So it happens day in, day out. I myself had to do that on
Is that legal?
That is legal.
Oh.
And actually it's a goodwill that they do that. I mean, versus going through the entire
legal process
of an unlawful detainer and all that. That is what happens quite a lot.
One other question I have, and you and I talked about this earlier. You were talking about this area near Shaw and Marks. We had this flood of condos, and there is a problem because of some of the standards that the government has set with some of these condos, and it has to do with the occupancy rate. Explain to me, or explain to our viewers what you explained to me in layman's terms so everybody can understand it.
Well, actually, Daryl's the one to actually explain that, because there's the 51% rule. It isn't just for those condos. It's for most condos that aren't owner-occupied.
It's anywhere. It's not just in this. I just pointed this one area out, but it's anywhere in California. Go ahead and explain what that means.
Well, there's two issues there. On a condo, it's very difficult because you have to have an owner occupancy of 51%. What that is it makes a bank.
Who has to have it?
The bank has to be secured by that. The reason that they do that is if a group of condos is rented out more than that, they almost consider that more of an apartment building now versus a group of condos. So in their mind, they feel like there's more liability to them by lending money on it. So the banks all set this standard now where 51% has to be owner occupied, or they will not lend on it.
It has to be cash.
It has to be a cash transaction at that point.
So in other words, so these condos, these units have to be occupied by at least 51% in order for.
By owners.
By the owners.
By owners. Can't be rentals.
Okay. Before it can be financed.
Right. If not, you can. The only
it can be a
option
cash
is to do
deal.
a cash deal.
Okay. And what problems does this present?
Honestly, it just causes a lot of condos to fall out of escrow because that number, a lot of times, Patty and I have seen this, that you're looking at 20-30% owner occupancy, and the rest of them are people who have moved up into a larger home because the prices were right, and now they still have this home. It's not really in their best interest to sell it at the price that it's worth now, but if we hold on to a while, so now they put a renter in it.
Does that depreciate the area?
I don't think that it really depreciates the value as much as it makes it hard to lend on it. And so I guess in a way, yeah, it would depreciate because you're not lending on it.
Vacant properties just sitting.
Vacant properties just sitting, doing nothing. So it does depreciate. And you could have a house across the street that's in beautiful shape, but then that price is going to go down a little.
And we have a pretty large squatter problem right now on vacant properties, not just south of Shaw, but I mean
north of Herndon, probably. Even if you have vacant homes, anybody can go in there.
Vacant home people are breaking in there, and have to put them on light switches where the lights turn on, make it look occupied. But I mean, people know when a house is vacant.
People know. They just know. I can tell if a house is vacant just driving by, So we're talking with Patti Pruitt and Daryl Rowe, back with our real estate show here in a moment on Connect with Me.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy.
Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator.
Quality appliances for the way you live. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise.
You believe our time is almost up here on Connect with Me on this Friday morning. How did we ever do a half-hour show? I mean, what do you even remember those days? I don't. We need 2 hours sometimes here on the show. Talking about real estate today, and so one of the things I want to do, and I promised in the beginning of the program, we take you through the process. So let's say I want to buy a home. I come in with my wife and 2 kids, whatever. We want to buy a home. And what's step number 1? Who wants to pick it up?
Well,
I go and see Patty first. I don't see you first. I see her first.
That's right, because you're walking through my open house, or you call me on one of my signs at my listing.
Yeah, and I see your beautiful face, and I say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm looking to buy a house." And you say what?
I say, "Have you been pre-qualified, and are you working with a realtor yet?"
And I say, what does that mean? I have no idea what you're talking about.
What do you mean a realtor? Oh, you mean a real estate agent?
Wait, you're showing this house where now? Where's this house being shown?
Oh, that's still in Tower.
Same couple, yeah, Tower District. Looks like a nice little place
It's
there.
a super cute little place.
Yeah,
It's
like it was a fixer-upper there, huh?
Yes. It's the backyard needs fixing up, but
well, that's easy to do. Just
yeah,
hire a landscaper.
It was a two-in-one for $120,000.
That's pretty cool. Even I can afford that. Good morning. You're on Connect with me. What's your question?
Hi, John. You mentioned something about Proposition 13, and I was just remembering when President Carter wanted to start rent control program in the 70s, and I'm just my thought of the day was I just wondering where we would be as a country if the proposition had actually passed.
You mean had not passed, right? If Proposition 13 had not passed.
It didn't pass. They shot it down before it even became a proposition.
All right. Okay. So let me ask you, before I get back to my original question a couple minutes ago, Daryl, maybe you can answer this. Not that you can't. You both can comment on this. If Proposition 13 had never passed, and if they do away with Prop 13 right now, how would that affect home sales overall in California?
You know, I'm not much of a speculator on that, so I don't know that I can really speak to what would happen. I don't.
Would the taxes be so high that people wouldn't be able to afford the homes?
Absolutely. I think that
and
there would be no end in sight.
Houses?
There would be no end in sight in that. So,
yeah.
I agree with that.
It would,
so you want Prop 13 in place? It's good. For it's good for business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I go in and see you because you have an open house, and then you tell me I got to go in and see.
If you have a realtor.
And I say no.
And are you pre-qualified or pre-approved? Have you spoken with your bank yet?
No.
Okay. Would you like me to recommend someone for you who you could speak with?
Obviously, yes.
And then I give you, Daryl's card or phone number, and you can call him right there on the spot. Give him your information and
what information am I giving you?
Well, there's some basic information we need. It would be your last 2 years of tax returns, including the W-2s.
Yeah.
Last 60 days of bank statements, and it has to be all pages.
Okay.
It would be
even the
last 30 days pay stubs. And really, with that information, I can establish your debt-to-income ratio and your credit score. And at that point, I know
within
within 15, 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I was just wondering, when you had all the turnover back in the Great Recession, there, a lot of the homes that were foreclosed on were purchased by rest homes and medical facilities, and were converted into daycare centers. They kind of, for my area, it kind of brought down the value of the neighborhood because it's turned into more of an industrial area rather than a neighborhood. Does the city have ordinances that protect against that?
Good question.
Actually, it's kind of a halfway house scenario, or is that what you're talking about? Is he still on air?
No, he's gone.
Well,
it sounded like he was talking like a halfway house deal. I don't know.
Yes, there are ordinances that protect against that. However, the Tower District is not one of them. On Maroa, if you're driving north from Olive, you'll see a lot of homes that are the big palatial homes that used to be on the main street, up to 6-7 bedrooms. And the Marjorie Mason Center, I sold them a house, gosh, it was back in 2005, 2006, a battered women's shelter. But no, there are a lot of places that are converted into drug rehab centers, prisoners coming out, and they do not have to disclose that to that neighborhood.
We have a minute left, so taking you through this process, getting back to that question. So once I see you, I call Daryl, I give him the numbers, he tells me if I'm pre-qualified, obviously. And then what happens after that?
You find out the amount you're qualified for. You determine which area you'd like to be in, and we go looking.
Then you make an
homes.
offer on the house.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then you find out if you're approved, right? And then you got to go through all the paperwork.
Correct.
And you have 30 seconds left. So you would explain, and you would explain thoroughly to this potential buyer what they're going through.
Absolutely. My job is to keep them calm and to understand
and walk them through the
fully.
process.
Exactly. And by the time we're done, Patty does a great job. By the time they get to me, they're very well informed with that side of it, and I do the financial side of it. And by the end of the day, I feel like we're all on the same page, and they feel pretty comfortable about what's going to happen next. So
yes, the communication is the huge part.
Yeah. Okay, Patti Pruitt, thank you. Good to see you.
You're welcome.
All right, out of time already, Daryl. Goes by fast, my friend. Patti Pruitt and Daryl Rowe, real estate agent and a lender. We're back on Monday here on Connect with Me. We have Bradley Hart filling in for his ailing father, Dennis Hart, on Monday, on the air, off the presses. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Monday.